Paul.
Yep.
July 1st is just, look out.
Yeah, you can
Riddled with disaster.
Really hurt yourself long term if you,
But the Sabres game is always different, or it could be. The credibility end of it. Maybe this is bad money. We know the player's old. We know the player's limited, but we've got to reinvent ourselves here. We've got to reinvent our image.
Yeah.
And so that's maybe part of what all that was, or it was just an honest effort to go get the best guys available.
Right.
Babcock became, that was a disaster, ultimately. He was a good coach, but
it ended badly. Hall for Larson from Edmonton to New Jersey. Taylor Hall.
I only think of him as a Sabre.
For Adam Larson. That was 1-for-1. Thank you, Kyle, on Twitter. That's the other trade that happened that day. I'm not fact-checking that, but that rings a bell.
Sure, okay.
So
when Hall ends up coming through here,
right,
it's hard to remember anything else.
Right. He won an MVP in New Jersey.
He won the Hart. And then he came here, and then he went to Boston. Didn't the Sabres trade him to Boston?
Yes.
In memorable trades in Sabres history, trading Taylor Hall to Boston.
And one of the most unforgettable moments in Sabres history that they chose to broadcast is the owner's voice on the phone talking to Kevin Adams on one of those produced in-house, behind-the-scenes things when Adams takes the idea of Taylor Hall signing a 1-year, $8 million deal here to the owner. The owner says, if we get this guy, we're going for the cup, or we're a cup contender, or whatever he said. Something to that effect. I'm like, wow.
Guy can dream.
Yeah.
What would have been better? Not having him on the call, not having that be streamed? What would have him saying we can get to 8th this way? What would have been better? I don't know.
I think not including it in the thing at all would have been a better move.
It's one of those.
Yeah, it's one of those. You shouldn't have put that in there.
We can't have Terry in anything, but it's a problem if he's not in anything. Because if he's not in anything, where is he? If he's in it, he's saying things like that, and maybe that can make people's jobs over there kind of tough.
Yeah.
Trying to figure out, the imaging. Mike as well. Mike, hi.
Hey, how you doing, sir?
Good.
Just wanted to call before the commercial break. You were mentioning what you would love to see at the draft tonight and what you would not like to see at the draft.
Yes.
Just being a longtime Buffalonian, I'd love to see him just make a splash, just to ignite the fan base. I know they took a shot last year with Lindy, trying to rejuvenate some old past memories, but we just need to make a splash and maybe get some talented top 6 forward in here and maybe trade that 9th pick. And then one thing I don't want to see is another draft pick of a 5'9", 175-pound forward. I just feel like we got a whole stable of those guys.
Okay. Do they actually have too many of those guys? By the way, this gets said a lot. This is why. What? This is why you didn't want Rossi, right? Because he'd be somebody else who's just not big enough?
Well, yeah, but even the NHL roster is full of centers as it is. So there's not really a spot to put him because of really Norris mostly. And I would say Kulich too. Right now, I would prefer to see Kulich through at a cheaper price than fill that hole with Marco Rossi myself. But yeah. It's Osland is this guy, Hellenius is that, size-wise, profile-wise, they're not all the same type player, but they are the same body type. One of them, there's one, Wahlberg might be a bigger guy out of that bunch of guys.
But these are not players who are on the team.
No, that's right. But so what it's saying, don't draft another guy that fits that profile is what the caller's suggesting, the guys I mentioned.
And Benson would be included here. He's on the team.
Yeah.
But really, they're not small. The NHL, the Sabres NHL roster is not small. Maybe they're not rugged or they're not, willing to fight for each other, all those kinds of things, but they're not I don't think it's a small. I wonder where they would rank. Height and weight. Forwards.
Well, yeah, Thompson helps your average.
So does Tuck.
From a height standpoint, Tuck has got good size. Quinn's not small. Tuck is the only one who really is physical in any way, shape, or form.
What's Greenway?
Of that group. No, Greenway's definitely that. Greenway is that.
I mean, when you're drafting, we're talking about 9th overall here, right? So you're drafting somebody that ideally has high-end talent. If they're not 6'2", if they are 6'2", they're not going 9th. Somebody with the requisite talent, I think even that early in the draft, every year is different, but is that maybe a little bit what it sounds like? The guy that Brayton ranked 10th is 6'5". McQueen is his name. Roger McQueen, 6'5". Maybe he's not thick, but he's he's also probably 18.
Right, he's got a chance to grow into his body, sure.
Yeah, 6'5". He's already that. He's not going to get shorter, at least. So I don't know. You're always hearing about little guys, little forwards, and there have been some of those, but not so much on the NHL roster. And by the way, Doan, who's bottom 6, but he's another bigger player.
Yep.
All right. Thanks, Mike. Here's Jim next. Hi, Jim. Jim?
Hi, guys.
Hi.
The question what I have to say is, first of all, Bulldog, happy birthday. We share a birthday yesterday.
My birthday's on Tuesday, but congratulations on your birthday.
Oh, yeah. Okay. And if you go back and listen to the tape when Terry Pagula made the comment to Adams, if we pick up Taylor Hall, this is not going to get us to the playoffs. It's going to get us, to win the cup. That was, his reaction to that was, not surprising to me, kind of knowing how Terry Pagula is. Listen to what Adams said to Pagula when he said that. He says to Pagula, "Oh, absolutely." That's what shocks me more.
Yeah.
A guy who's a general manager, think he's going to pick up one player, and he's going to get to the cup. That shocks me.
I like this point. Yes.
Well, look, I mean, what could he say, and what could he say that would be streamed by the Sabres? What if Adams has like a expression of shock on his face?
I think if he says, "Well, Terry, that's not really going to get it done," then they're not signing Taylor Hall. Like Pagula's going to say, "I'm not paying $8 million for Taylor Hall unless you tell me it's." I think that so. Adams wants Taylor Hall. He thinks Taylor Hall is going to help them and help them end a playoff drought. And so he's just, he's yes-manning the owner right there. I think like you got it. I don't know if it was sincere or not, but I could see a scenario where you're just telling the guy what he wants to hear so you can sign this player.
Maybe. Yeah, I'm not thinking of it in terms of they're actually discussing it. I'm but they are. I'm more thinking of it in terms of like it being shared. And if instead of hearing that, you have Adam's face on camera, he's like, okay. I mean, you wouldn't want that would not get out, right? That would not have been sent. I don't know what would have been best. What would have been best? Does he just explain what would have been best, irrespective of it being streamed? Like, what should really have been said in that moment? Adams, I think, had the right to be excited about.
Sure.
Are we talking about this all? What did the last guy want? A splash. How many NHL players can he name?
Taylor Hall was a
50.
very credible idea.
Sure.
It did not go well at all because nothing is allowed to go well here, apparently, when it comes to the hockey team. That's just a rule. I don't know. We have some problem. But it was a credible idea. I don't know. What is best? Like, this guy can really help us.
I was into it.
Sure.
It shouldn't have been bad. It shouldn't have hurt.
He was a year removed from the MVP at that time.
This is the thing the Sabres can't do.
Right. And his coming, along with Eric Stahl in the same offseason and getting traded before the deadline is a part of the image problem that they continue to endure. Because the guys that they do get to come here, I got to go. It's like, I got to go. This is no good.
He scored 2 goals for the Sabres. And didn't we have a bet?
Taylor Hall scored 2 goals for the Sabres?
Yeah.
Yeah, we did.
Didn't we have a bet that he would score? There was like a game against Boston. I think I remember betting he would score more goals against the Sabres that season than for the Sabres. And I think he scored 2 in one game for Boston, but not 3.
Right.
Almost.
Yes, there was a bet. With Paul was involved in the Taylor Hall.
Paul's Mr. Papa Giorgio these days. with the betting.
Maybe that's where it started.
Maybe that was where it started.
He got a taste. And he just can't
the
stop.
Taylor Hall bet. He'll score more goals against the Sabres than he did for them, and he almost did. He scored 8 goals in 16 games for Boston.
That's a tremendous memory on you over there. Now, I'm not surprised. I'm just complimenting you.
He had 8 goals in 17 games for Boston after 2 in 37 here. I'll take $8 million. Here's Dave next. Hi, Dave.
Hello.
Oh my. Yes.
Okay.
Hello.
Hi guys, I'm here. Thanks for taking the phone call.
You're welcome.
You got here quicker than I thought. I just wanted to say, I didn't listen to your show earlier, but I'm really hoping the Sabres keep their pick number 9. I think there's Mertka there, Aitchison, Jackson. There's some quality defensemen that can really help your team down the road. And I know there's this big rush to make, the playoffs, but the Eastern Conference is awfully tough. And you do got enough trade assets with Byram. You could look at maybe Rosen, Ostlund. There's other things to move. Pick number 9 kind of gives you some hope for the future. And that defenseman Mertka, if he was there, I mean, look at this defensive core as time goes on. And, and I know we're in this rush to end the drought, but there's been there's been a lot of mistakes along the way, so to say. But to keep, and they are actually still building this roster. When you look at the trade with Peterka, they're still building a roster. And I don't, see the fault in that part of it. And maybe being at the Bills' place will bring them a little bit of draft luck. But, I mean...
I sure hope so. All right, Dave, thank you for the call. I'm in a rush. We're in a rush to end the drought. Is that what this is?
I get it. I agree with him
14 years.
In wanting to just not be like, all right, the Sabres just went to the semifinals and now it's on. I think it's okay. It's respectable to sort of take a longer view, but I think in the end I would side with making a move for the present. I just think it should. If you had a 2-year playoff drought instead of 14, something normal, then this is, I think, what we would do is be like, all right, well, one more guy, what's the fit, whatever. It wouldn't be just this urgency that is just kind of artificial based on the last 14 years. So I'm with him there. I just think drafting a defenseman would go over badly. You made this trade yesterday. They now lack for offense, I think. And you've got 2 number 1 overall picks. One's good, one's great. You've got the money in Samuelson. Maybe you want to get out of that. Now you've got this guy, Kesselring. You've got enough there, I think, to survive. It's not going to, whoever they drafted 9 anyway is not going to be on the roster this year. So it's not even about the 6 defensemen.
Yeah, go ahead.
I'm just Dahlin is forever, Power is forever, and I think I should be able to patchwork the rest of it. They just have not succeeded yet. And at forward, the 9th pick overall, I want somebody who could really be a star. I mean, that should be possible with that pick. Could a defenseman be a star? Sure. But the Sabres are now, I think, a little bit heavy on the blue line and not as much up front. So
I don't agree with that at all. I think in Rochester, prospect-wise, their prospect pool defensively, I think there's a couple of Russian kids, and I don't know that they project as anything more than bottom pair guys. They do not have anybody really coming. Forward-wise, they've got this bunch of guys that we just talked about that are all kind of similar. And I don't know if any of them are going to hit the beach effectively for them as forwards, but they've got a half a dozen guys maybe, led by Roseanne might be the most experienced, and then Hellenius from last year is the least experienced, and in between there's, I think, 3 other guys. So I think prospect pool-wise, I could easily defend picking a defenseman. They're not long in that. Really, Power hitting so quickly sort of which is what you expect when you're drafting 101,
Sure.
of course. I like the idea of a defenseman at 9 myself.
Okay, we can talk about that some more because it sounds like as far as those forwards go, the ceiling maybe is not generally that high. Thinking of Scott Wheeler on Roseanne, is he a 4A player? What is there a top 6 player in that bunch? Like within 2 years, the season after this next one at the soonest? I think can I expect that? And I just think with Dahlin and Power, you should be able to figure out the rest without even worrying about your prospects. I mean, that should just be the right choices judiciously. Maybe Kesselring is one of those. Like you want to think so.
I definitely hope so.
They probably are betting on that.
But even with that said, it took them 3 years to find their way to a partner for Power. So I'm good with replenishing defense.
Your problem is part of this is you just don't think they'll get it right. Going out and signing Clifton, the moves they've made are proof that they won't get it right.
Yeah, I would rather draft someone promising and let him develop and bring him here rather than go sign the guy that's willing to come.
Yeah, well, that might be the reality. But I think apart from that sort of doom and gloom position, that's how you should do it with the investments in Dahlin and Power. Anyway, we can talk about that some more. Thanks for